Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening here from the team at Northern Undead Asylum. You're here with me, your co-host Wilson Rebello, and to my left, the other co-host, GRJDwyer.
How?
You find us still here, currently at the Mcmurdo Station, out in Greater Antarctica. And as you can hear, there's a terrible downpour. But weather dependent, we will continue, not pursue, continue. Before we move on to the bread and butter of our podcast, this week in gaming news. There is turmoil at the HQ of the media empire Watch Mojo as bosses debate on whether to publish their list of top 10 favourite child killers. After much discussion, the Australian government agreed to put new batteries into the back of Vativigia so we could continue his sole generation of the Soul series on YouTube.
What's up guys, I'm Vadi.
And a bit of warming local news. Jean Van Queef put down the bookie's pen and picked up the jewel shop to complete Bloodborne for the very first time. He now has a 2-foot tattoo of Hidetaka Miyazaki on his back and is a sober, born-again Christian. Soft bastard.
Right. Show you these trophies. Hang on, not them. Oh, off and a voo.
That was this week in gaming news. So, we have a formula that we now know works.
Yes.
Let's start with gaming. I will pose the question to you. Have you played anything this week?
Yeah. So, as you know, I'm a big fan of the Castlevania, Metroidvania type games, and I have jumped back into Bloodstained Ritual of the Night, which is a wonderful and beautiful ode to the Castlevania series. It is directed by, and I'm going to have to read this, is Koji Igarashi. I think it's Igarashi. Igarashi. And a lot of the team at Artplay that kind of worked on those Castlevania games over the years. He was one of the casualties of the great Konami cult. Obviously Konami made the Castlevania series as well as sort of ISS Pro, Metal Gear Solid, maybe Front Mission, I can't remember, but they made a series of incredible games. I'm sure everyone's aware of who Konami is. But he was one of the guys that kind of jumped ship when Konami started to sink a little bit.
The recent Konami cult.
Yeah, well they've kind of seemed to weirdly gone into when what?
The pachinko thing.
The pachinko.
Let's sack all the developers and get the pachinko guys in.
Pachinko guys. So they've kind of gone all mobile, haven't they? They've done a load of mobile games, and a lot of developers didn't want to kind of get on board with that, and a lot of the freedom that has kind of been granted to some of the developers at Konami over the years was kind of taken away. So our man himself, Koji, went away and he started a Kickstarter campaign which funded Bloodstained Ritual of the Night.
Nice.
It is a stunning game. It is a beautiful art style. It is absolutely a spiritual successor to Castlevania. Symphony of the Night being one of my favourite games of all time. It is definitely a direct sort of ode to that. You play the character Miriam, which is kind of weird because my other half is also called Miriam. Obviously not as good looking or as charming, but you play Miriam, who plays the protagonist, and you make your way through dungeons, castles, and fantastical places where you defeat beasts and ghouls and goblins. It is a great play. I'm not telling you. But no, he's not. But yeah, it's great. It really is. It's superb soundtrack and amazing art style. Really easy to play. Extremely hard, by the way.
Yeah.
So I've kind of made a bit of a case for these 2D scrollers that I kind of like and trying to put out there to people that have played these harder games. Not going to mention any, but these games that kind of challenge you, and that being one. Just kind of, I'm sorry to kind of indulge, but going on from that sort of Kickstarter game that kind of indies seem to kind of be kind of going for at the minute. Special mention to Bleak Faith Forsaken.
Oh yes.
And if you've played sort of Hellpoint or you've played Mortal Shell or any of those Souls-like games, this looks to be very much in the same vein. The difference is that their development team consists of 2 people. 2.
Just the 2 of them.
Just the 2 people. So Miso, another. Vucevic, as a South African, I do find it
He
hard
plays
to
for
play.
the Orlando Magic.
Is he?
Yeah.
I thought he used to play for Aston Villa. Savio Blasovic. Mirko Stanic,
Easy.
you know, again, apologise if we mispronounce your names, but you know, I do have a list. It comes with the disclaimer when you purchase a GRJDwyer. I do come with a list. Backers pledged £31,000 and that got off the ground.
Wow.
We'll play a little trailer for you, and it is quite frankly an outstanding achievement for two developers to kind of go down that route. I was a little bit sceptical at first. I thought it could have got a little bit lost in the ether. You know, maybe it's just when you get 2 people's direct vision, it can sometimes take a little bit time, you know, to get off the ground. But absolutely, man, it's got elements of horror in there, elements of sci-fi.
Yeah.
Certainly, obviously, got a lot of. Looks like it's got quite a lot of the Souls mechanics. But something that really struck me was the scale.
Yeah.
That they've got with some of the enemies and sort of the, you know. It just looks great anyway, and I'm not going to go too far into it because I don't want to build it up. I don't want to do a No Man's Sky or grit my teeth and say that other game.
Although No Man's Sky is now a phenomenal game.
No Man's Sky is wicked, absolutely incredible.
Just a bit of a rough landing.
Yeah, rough start, but they've certainly set
So,
themselves up.
do you think Bleak Faith Forsaken could go head to head with Black Myth Wukong in 2021's Souls-like?
So this is the Chinese one.
The Chinese one. Yeah.
Cool. So I've actually not managed to sit down and pick through the trailer yet, but this Bleak Faith Forsaken looks like it's going to be first of all released on PC.
Right. Okay.
And then later, the interest is definitely there, and I know they absolutely want to release it on PS4.
Yeah. When there's 2 of them.
I think the game that you mentioned there it's looking like it's going on next gen consoles.
Yeah,
right?
it's going to be next gen consoles. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're most probably on PC as well.
Right. Okay. I would think that this one will be remaining on PS4. I mean, PC. I'm sure it will be PC and sort of this generation, so last generation's console.
Which is agonising because I am only just about to receive Disco Elysium in the next couple of months.
Wow.
I've been waiting a whole year to get it on a console because I don't own a PC.
It looks pretty good, man. It looks incredible.
So I'll have the same pain all over again now.
Disco Elysium.
Although
that's a bit like, obviously, I used to play some games like called Commandos 1 and 2. So those point and click games that you can kind of go through different scenarios.
Classic RPG, isn't it?
Yeah. We're not talking like Broken Sword.
Yeah.
It's your classic click and point RPG.
Yeah.
There's some incredible games out there. Desperados. If anyone's picked that up, Desperados 3 is absolutely quality. Get it down.
Is Diablo the same formula? Is that a different game?
No,
I've never understood Diablo.
So Diablo's a bit more sort of wheat based, sort of dungeon dwelling. So you'll kind of go through teams of 2 and 3. I think you really like it, by the way.
Yeah.
I think you really like it. So it's Diablo 4 is set to come out soon. Diablo 3, the Eternal Edition, is great. It's sort of those dungeon crawlers, I think you call them, where you kind of you do a raid, and then you kind of get the loot at the end of it, and you share it between you and your party, and
nice.
you get better through that. So that's a different type of game for you all to kind of pick up and play.
Yeah.
What about yourself? Have you been playing anything apart from what I've been playing this week?
Yes, I've been we've got a Mortal Shell retrospective review coming up, so I had a little bit of Mortal Shell, but we've already kind of spoken about that on this show. Everybody knows we're big fans of that game.
Mortal Shell's
awesome. So I'm going to talk about one of my favourite franchises, however you want to say it. It's the Yakuza series, Sega's Yakuza series.
Awesome.
Now, the remastered collection came early last year, so now we have the full series on current gen consoles.
Yep.
So Kiwami 1 and 2 was remastered, remade for the PlayStation 4. 6 is a PlayStation 4 game anyway, as is 0, and 3, 4 and 5 to finally tie up the whole series has been remastered.
Okay.
So I got my hands on that. I've got Yakuza 3, not actually played it yet, but in spirit of being excited to play it, I thought I would talk about my favourite, which is Yakuza 0, which is...
As a prequel.
It's the prequel, and it's the one that I played first. I was told online that for a true experience, play 0 first.
Oh, okay.
It throws you into a fictional Tokyo in 1988, and you take the helm of this young buck called Kazuma Kiryu.
Okay.
And he basically becomes a part of you after 4 or 5 games. It's just... The storytelling in this game is phenomenal.
Yeah.
I think for a lot of English players, when they first pick up a Yakuza game and find out that it's in Japanese, and sorry, we don't do English.
Right,
you play this game. If you want to play this game, you play it in Japanese
with subtitles.
With subtitles, or you can play it without subtitles and be really brave.
Yeah,
just
really.
like. But yeah, so at first it threw me off a little bit. I was looking for English overdub setting, as you normally do.
Yeah.
I think, but honestly, within 10 minutes, you don't even realise that you're reading subtitles because it just becomes...
And that creates a better experience.
Massively, yeah. The guys who've written it, I believe that... I'm going to read a name now. It was Masayoshi Yokoyama is the guy who...
Yeah.
It's a mouthful, isn't it? He's wrote the new Like a Dragon.
Yeah.
You know, the one that's got the Final Fantasy style combat in.
Yeah.
He wrote 0, my favourite, and I think he had a hand in 6 maybe. Obviously, Yakuza 1 and 2 are from the PlayStation 2 era. But again, both them games are phenomenal.
Have they been remastered well, or are they just kind of like washovers?
Kiwami 1 was a bit of a washover, but the story is so good that it makes a great game.
So does it handle well, or...?
It handles really well, the combat's phenomenal. I think a lot of people who are not into beat-em-ups would be a little bit put off by Yakuza, because it is... A huge part of the game is that you're constantly attacked on the street by rival gangs, and it becomes a little bit of an open world beat 'em up also.
Right, okay.
Almost. There's a story. It's an open world. You get into Tokyo. I think it's got a different name. I have to remember that name. And then there's also Osaka, which is featured in a few games. That's called Sotenbori. I don't know why I've forgotten the Tokyo version of the map. Okay. Osaka's called Sotenbori in the game.
Sounds good.
It's so good, honestly. Right. Sometimes you even flip between different main characters. But Kazuma Kiryu is this young buck. He wants to join the Yakuza. Right. He's an orphan, and the guy who sort of adopts him or sort of becomes his carer is one of the leaders of the Yakuza. Yep. And it's obviously his story.
Lots to be said about the Japanese game market.
Massively.
I think there's quite a lot of titles that kind of slip through.
Well, this series massively,
and I think they slip through when they aren't redubbed in English. Yeah. So like I think Ni no Kuni was not done that for the first time, and that kind of slipped through, and then eventually as it gained notoriety, they went back and redubbed it. Yeah. But there's been some games over the years that have been absolute gems that I kind of speak to people about, and they have no idea what I'm talking about. Sort of Galarians. Yeah. I mean, a lot of people kind of played Parasite Eve, but it was sort of the undercursor to Resident Evil, and it was like such a good game.
Yeah, it was good.
And it never really sort of the real light there. There's I think Shenmue as and their kind of remastered thing. There's some amazing games on Dreamcast actually.
Wasn't Shenmue a Dreamcast game?
It was, yeah. Shenmue was the first game to employ a weather system as well, I think.
Well, it was quite revolutionary in a lot of ways. Yeah. Also revolutionary in the terms of that its budget would sound like it was made in like 2015. I think it was 140 million or something like that.
Ridiculous.
But it paid off because it's an absolute classic, isn't it?
I think a couple of the stores like Epic and sort of PS4 and the Xbox Game Pass, they're kind of pushing the Japanese games a little bit more because I think when you get into sort of a Japanese franchise, you can almost become completely engrossed in it.
Definitely,
because they spend sort of obviously a lot of people will have got involved and completely saturated themselves in the Final Fantasy series and stuff like that, or
Devil May Cry.
Devil May Cry.
It's so Japanese.
It is so Japanese. Do you know I got the true ending on Resident Evil 2 this week, and man, is that Japanese.
Well, when they skip off in the sunshine, she's like, I need a new mummy and daddy.
Yeah, I need a new mummy and daddy.
Like, oh sweet, we're in a relationship now.
Yeah, we're in a relationship now. That's sort of like, that sort of piecing together. But yeah, I think a lot is to be said about a few of those Japanese games that may not have come to light. So if you've not given Yakuza a go, absolutely give it a go. For
anyone who's into narratives and storytelling in gaming,
the
Japanese have that market covered. In every game I've played that's a Japanese game, and Yakuza is the epitome of storytelling and narratives.
They do horror like nobody else.
What was the camera game?
Soma, was it?
No, you had to flash to see where you were going. Darkness, Eternal. No, it's not Eternal Darkness.
That was a great game, by the way. Eternal Darkness was great, but that's not it. We'll find out.
We're veering off now.
It's not First Light. I can't remember what it's called.
Photo mode.
We have to put the flash on.
Very scary.
Ooh,
you played
so
this
scary.
photo mode. Silent Hill.
Yeah, Silent Hill, man. Amazing,
what a game.
Amazing, absolutely terrifying. Triangle. That every time I see a student with a corn on his head walking down Oxford Road, I'm like,
ah! Yeah.
But never mind.
Good enemy creation, that.
Yeah, great enemy creation, man. So films.
Yeah, films. You want to go first?
I can go first. If
you go first.
So the news that a Matrix 4 will be coming to our screens sometime in the near distant future. Obviously at the moment everything's kind of been put on the back burner, but it might not be as long as we think, and the fact that they have managed to keep a lid on whatever's going on with that film so well, apart from a few texts, swung between me and Keanu, but I went back and revisited the Matrix trilogy. Now there's very few films, and I kind of wanted to say this because there's very few films that I can say, and I think a lot of people can say, that I've watched and I've thought is near perfect.
Well, now, Matrix 1 in particular.
Matrix 1
is near perfect.
It kind of gathered everything of my whole sort of teen years of growing up in eyes and everything. Seeing my brothers going out clubbing and that kind of music that was like Prodigy and some of the technical, and I was playing Wipeout 297, which I think I have here, which is absolutely one of my favourite games of all time, by the way.
It does have a little bit of an underworld vibe to it, doesn't it? Maybe. I didn't even realise that.
Yeah, it's got like sort of like Berlin and techno.
Lager.
But it's got Rob Zombie on it. He did a bit of the soundtrack and stuff. But amazing film. I went back and revisited it and kind of really enjoyed it, but on a different level. Yeah,
I think you can watch from the outside looking in when you kind of revisit stuff like that.
Yeah. As a sort of someone that was a little bit older, I can kind of appreciate the art form a little bit more. Yeah. And I think there is a lot of influences in there that you don't realise when you watch it for the first time. You're like, oh, it's just an action flick. Yeah. But then when you've kind of gone away and you've read as many comics as we have, and you've kind of looked at, you've kind of played as many games as we have, not saying that we both do have full-time jobs, by the way. And we both do have girlfriends, but
you wouldn't believe that either.
We might put that out a bit, some of our female fans. But but yeah, I think I went back and I could kind of see where a lot of the influences came from.
The Wachowskis are geniuses, aren't
they? The Wachowskis are absolute geniuses.
What about the game with the really meta ending?
Enter the Matrix.
Phenomenal.
Yeah, it's a wicked game. Amazing combat system. You followed Nairobi and Sif. I would say
Cypher.
Yeah, Sif is a wolf from the Dark Souls series.
Yeah.
But
The
Great Wolf. Yeah, but it follows Cypher, doesn't it? And it was kind of a really cool sort of sidestep from the series. Yeah, so I kind of gone back and kind of revisit a little bit of that. If you've seen the John Wick films and stuff, I'm sure you've seen The Matrix. I'm not even going to go there, but I'm just saying I wanted to mention it because it is one of my favourite films of all time, and it's not because I haven't had anything to watch this week. It's because I've gone back and I've really got an appreciation now for what they were trying to do that series and where they were trying to take it, and I cannot wait for Matrix 4.
I think what's best about this podcast is it's not particularly about giving things for you to see that you may not have heard of. It's just a chance for us to explain what we love and what we think you will love too. So it's great. Matrix is well up there for a lot of people who are involved in similar things as we are.
Watched a film called Baby Teeth as well this week.
I've heard of that.
Which is a little bit more. It's completely away from the whole sort of sci-fi Matrix thing. And there's certainly no influence of comics or anything there, but it's got our man Ben Mendelsohn in it.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, it's got Ben Mendelsohn in it. It's an Australian film that is a sort of a coming of age film about a girl that is, I'm not spoiling anything, that has got cancer.
Right.
And she befriends a young man who they have a weird and wonderful friendship with.
Yeah.
A little bit sort of American Beauty vibes in the way that the family's kind of falling apart with what's going on.
Yeah.
But very well shot.
We can't talk about American Beauty anymore.
No, we can't. And there's no space in the podcast for to be kind of talking about
Fuck that guy.
Fuck that guy. Trying to fuck us instead. But it's kind of American Beauty vibes, kind of that sort of old family falling apart thing, but with a backdrop of stunning cinematography and a very well woven and humorous story that I really.
Is it heart-wrenching?
Yeah, man. I don't cry at many films. So I don't. My girlfriend will always say that you haven't got a heart and you can't cry at films. 1917. You have never seen a man crying.
Really?
Man, you don't have any idea.
That's good.
Read about a lot about war though. I don't think it was particularly the most amazing film I've ever seen, but I've just read a lot about war,
and it
absolutely crushed me at the end.
Wow.
So, what about yourself?
Oh, it was really sad though when his brother starts crying.
Yeah,
spoilers.
Yeah,
We'll have a spoiler flash before that. It was really sad. About me, it's going to be a bit of a cheat one, this.
Okay.
Because we've got something coming up for Northern Under the Sound that I'm going to be talking about.
Right.
So I went back as research and watched one of my favourite films of all time, and this is John Carpenter's The Thing. Ooh. One of my favourite horrors of all time.
Yeah.
One of my favourite, I suppose you could call it a thriller.
Yep.
It's tense all the way through.
Wicked.
I love the animation, the enemies.
Animatronics.
Yeah, the animatronics. So
Yeah.
Of it's quite clearly not in the CGI world just yet. But I think for that, it's a lot better. Yeah. So I wanted to kind of talk a little bit about the game in 2002.
Oh, okay.
It was made by Computer Artworks,
Okay.
a completely unknown developer,
Right.
and it was a survival game.
Yeah.
I suppose in a certain sense you could say it's similar to Resident Evil, but what made this game so special was at the end of John Carpenter's The Thing.
Yep.
Spoilers again. We're stranded with Murdoch and the other fella. Can't frigging remember his name.
The Thing.
Well, they're both.
The Thingy Bob.
He takes the swig of the bottle that
Yeah.
some say is petrol, some say is whiskey to make an indication that he is the thing.
Yeah.
But it's all very ambiguous.
Yeah.
And it leaves on a perfect cliffhanger and a tone. So the game, The Thing, is the second team, Alpha Bravo team, turning up to see what's gone down. And the team lands.
It's The Thing 2.
It's The Thing 2 in video game form.
And are we calling for a remake?
This is what I'm bringing on. So through Northern Undead Asylum, I'm just wanting to start a playlist called Remake Requests, because this game, above all games, deserves a remake.
Okay.
Computer Artworks, wherever you are now, I don't know what you're doing, or if you've all gone on to bigger and better things, or you're all sat in your house picking your belly button thinking, why shouldn't I be remaking The Thing?
Yeah.
Anyway, it needs remaking. It's like a survival game, survival horror, a bit like Resident Evil, I suppose.
Yeah.
You can interact with things, and you can have flashlights and weapons. You can have a different weaponry and arsenal. The really, really, really genius, clever mechanic is it. You have a squad.
Right.
And you open up the menu and you've got your squad, and there's 3 different types of people you can have in your squad.
Okay.
There's a medic, a soldier, and I'm sure I've got it written down somewhere. A medic, a soldier, and
Scouts.
an engineer.
An engineer, right.
And they can all do different things. So if doors are locked, you have to get an engineer to sort the lock break out.
Okay.
If one of your team's injured, the medic's got to come. If the monsters turn up or the thing arrives, your soldiers step in and takes the business, and you have to control your team. But the best mechanic about it is they have a fear meter and they have a trust meter. So
it's all psychological.
It's a psychological survival. If you do something if you set them off to think I shouldn't trust it, they won't trust you, and the trust meter will go right down And there's even points where they'll turn on you and think you're the thing.
Okay.
And it's about dealing with your squad and playing the Resident Evil style survival horror game.
That sounds amazing.
It is phenomenal.
Okay.
Not only is John Carpenter's The Thing one of the best horrors ever made, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It's one of the best games from the PlayStation 2 era. When it's completely unknown, nobody talks about it. Obviously, there's a few videos on YouTube of other podcasters or media companies talking about how good the game is, but it deserves a remake.
I've never played it.
It's phenomenal. PlayStation 2.
PlayStation 2.
Yeah.
We have a PlayStation 2 knocking about.
There's a PlayStation 2.
So I'm going to take that home.
Did I not bring it with me? The thing. I must still have it at home.
I think the DVD.
I'll bring it in for you all to see at Show and Tell next episode.
Okay. Well, it's I think, you know, one of my favourite things about, not the thing, but sort of horrors in general is the fear of the unknown. So I think they've lost that in horrors and horror gaming.
Mm-hmm.
You know, everything's about showcasing and showpiecing.
Jump scares.
The jump scares and thinking it takes something away. I mean, you know, one of my favourite films of all time, which is just behind me, is Alien. And you know, you kind of look at Jaws or the classic, some of the classic horrors, if you want to call Jaws a horror, which I certainly do. It is the fear of the unknown, and the sort of that fear of something that's round the corner, but you know, the build there, the crescendo's there, and then eventually it's bam. And it's, you know, I think there's a game that I'd actually like to throw into that remake request called Alan Wake, which is absolutely sick. So if you
it's still Xbox 360, but interesting. It's 360,
Yeah,
but
right.
interestingly enough,
Right.
what Alan Wake is, Microsoft have just sold the exclusive rights back to Remedy.
Okay.
So I think it might already be in the works. There might be a new Alan Wake on the way.
Alan may have been woken.
He may have been woken because it left on a cliffhanger. Didn't
It did.
on a huge cliffhanger.
Yeah. So let's hope that drops.
Definitely.
We get requesting for it.
We'll put that down for now and let's do a little bit more research on that. But I think it might be in the works because Microsoft did sell the exclusive rights because they kept hold of it for Remedy wanted Alan Wake back as a intellectual property, as an IP, is it called? Microsoft said no for many years.
Right, okay.
Remedy wanted to build on it.
Because it was exclusive at the time, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's still
is.
technically is. Yeah, they did that shitty Undead Nightmares or whatever it was called.
Yeah.
You know, like the run and gun Alan Wake sequel that was just him shooting zombies.
Shooting zombies like Resident Evil Survival.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
I think we will go ahead with the remake request thing, and we'll implore that into the show and get it out there. So if you do have any remakes that you are requesting, then maybe you should send them into the show. I've got a few in mind that I think I'd certainly like to kind of go through. And I think we can kind of go through that in a segment in the show from next week. Books, what are you reading?
Well, again, I like the formula of I had a free acid for the children last week.
Yep.
And you lent me this, Guardians of Brutality.
Yes.
I believe given by one of our close friends.
Yeah, it was. So this is a series of comics that I read that is Space Riders. It is like so. It's got subtext is Guardians of Brutality. Very, very briefly, because I'm not going to spoil it for you. It is basically Guardians of the Galaxy in sort of a Western / Mad Max universe.
Yeah.
When I had nearly finished these comics, of which I was a mega fan of, a guy that I was living with at the time, and he is a good friend of mine, bought me the collected edition, which was also signed as well. So big shout out to Martin Commons, and this is why I doth deliver you the present, and you know, you can kind of take it on and read your ways and let somebody else enjoy it.
Definitely getting more into comics. God, you've sent me on this path. I'm sure my girlfriend won't be pleased.
No, did you read anything in the Dark Souls comic that I read you?
I tried, but a lot of it was stuck together.
It was stuck together.
It seemed weather damaged.
Yes.
weather damaged.
Weather damage.
Unfortunately, a lot of it is quite unreadable, but
Yeah.
it did look quite exciting. But I have been on Comicsology
Yeah.
since,
Yeah.
because I want to start, purchasing and looking more into the Dark Souls.
Yeah.
But there was a bit in this. There's a giant skull going around, laser beaming people in this.
It's wicked.
Time to die, motherfuckers! And that was a personal highlight of mine.
Yeah,
Guardians
yeah.
of Brutality. It's called Space Riders.
Space Riders, Guardians of Brutality, as an incredible artist that
really
illustrates
good,
for it, and
massively.
it's just it's highly recommended. Got that sort of Fantastic Planet sort of art style in it, which I may be way off there with our man's influences, but it is great. Another comic for you to take home this week, Oblivion Song. Try it, and also
Excellent.
Mirror's great as well.
Nice.
We've got some good ones for Wilson to kind of work through, and maybe we'll have Wilson's wonderful reviews of comics and Comixology as we kind of head on into the future. I haven't really been reading much this week because I've kind of been keeping on with the books that I've been reading, such as Mr. Nice Guy and the Dark Souls Compendium, which I'll probably do a full review on.
Nice.
Which I'm absolutely vested in it, man. I'm back on
The
Dark Souls 2.
Compendium or the Beyond the Grave?
Beyond the Grave.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's not the Compendium. I've not got the Compendium.
I was
That
going to
is
say I
absolute
want to see that
bullshit.
shit if you've got the Compendium.
But yeah, and I've been also working my way through the artworks of Bloodborne as well, which is a beautiful thing. So I have had a book on my shelf for around about a year, called Retro Gaming: A Bite-Sized History from Atari to Zelda.
I have seen this. It does look.
Yeah, it's
like a collection,
it's
isn't
a
it?
kind of little bit. I think it must have been kind of compiled in sort of late 2017 to 2018, because there's a couple of games that probably would have made the cut. Obviously, I think that books are like games now, where you can release a fucking shower of shit and then update it. It's basically a collection of a lot of the games that I used to play when I was growing up. We go through SNES, we go through Mega Drive, goes all the way through sort of Dreamcast, Xbox. Kind of gets all the way up there. Good read. Great toilet read if you just want to pick something up for 10-20 minutes. So next time, until next week, I'm going to remember my lines next week as soon as I can't seem to get anything out. But as I said, if you do buy a GRJDwyer, it does come with a lisp. Good night.